Welcome to Food in a Flash. I'm Sharon Glass, and tonight we're making a low-fat meal just for you and your family. We're cooking some roast asparagus, crumbed baked fish, a beautiful pasta with fresh tomatoes, and finishing with a mango brulee topped with yogurt. Delicious. As a self-taught cook and cooking teacher of 27 years, I have a passion for what I do, and as a mother, I know how rewarding it is to see my family happily tucking into a wonderful meal that I have prepared. I also know what it's like to be a busy mom and still have to think about getting dinner on the table. It's not always easy, but it doesn't have to be complicated. That's why I started teaching and writing cookbooks, to show people just how wonderful it can be to cook and enjoy and still have time and energy to do the important things in life. I hope I can get you to become confident in the kitchen, have fun, and above all, create some beautiful, simple meals that you and your family will absolutely love. So we're going to start with our crumbed baked fish. It's simple, it's easy, it's full of flavor, and it doesn't take long to prepare at all. What we've got are some crumbs, breadcrumbs. I've got some ground almonds, a low GI bread because I want something for low fat, a light mayonnaise, some chopped parsley, and a little bit of lemon rind just to give it a bit of zing. You could add chili if you like as well. I like to use a bit of a mixture of breadcrumbs and my own bread, because if you're really looking for low fat, you want to use a low GI bread. So we're just popping it into a food processor. I'm just going to crumb it, and what it does for that fish is just give it a bit of texture. Right. It doesn't even need to be toasted. We're going to pat it onto the fish, so it should be absolutely perfect. And it's kind of nutty also, which is great. So I'm going to do a little bit of these. It's about a cup altogether, depending on the quantity of fish that you're using. You can see these are quite fine, and the problem with them is that they actually just get soggy when they cook. So what you do is if you use the bread, you're going to get a nice mixture of both of them. The ground almonds just give you that nutty kind of flavor. They're a little bit fatty. If you don't want to use them, you could leave them out completely. It's about a half a cup. Okay. And I'm going to add some chopped parsley. That just gives me nice color. And let's just grate a little bit of lemon zest or lemon rind to put in there. This microplane is the best thing you'll ever buy because it just grates that lemon rind in 2 seconds. So the rind of 1 lemon works great, and then you can juice it to squeeze over the fish when it comes out of the oven. Okay, I'm going to mix that all together, and then I'm going to get the fish out of the fridge. I need to put some salt and pepper in here. Okay. And as you know, I always like to use fresh sea salt. It does give it lots of flavor. So that's my mixture, nice and coarse. It's going to go onto my fish beautifully. I've got some fresh king clip here, and I like to use king clip because it's a nice firm fish. Let me grab my baking tray. Because with the king clip, it doesn't fall apart too much, but it's quite expensive, so hake would work quite fine as well. You could use a lionfish. Just remember the thickness is very important. Let me show you. I just want to pop on some gloves because I hate handling fish. It's just one of those things that leaves a smell on your hands. I always ask for medium king clip, and it's important if you're buying fresh fish to remember that you're not going to get water in the pan when you put it in the oven. But with frozen fish, there's a lot of water from the freezer, so drain it really well, pat it dry before you cook it, and the secret is a very high temperature. The lower the temperature, the more water comes out. What we've got is our piece of king clip, and this little tail, my little tip for you, is to flap it under. It's a great tip because then it all cooks evenly, and we're going to put it onto this baking tray. Now what I've done is put a black liner, it's a Teflon liner, non-stick, so I don't need to spray it or anything, and what I'm going to be able to do is just slide that fish off. It's beautiful, it works easily, and it fits perfectly into my oven. Because the fish doesn't have any seasoning, I'm going to put a little bit of salt and pepper on it, even though I've got salt and pepper in there. Just need to give it flavor. Okay, just a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is spread it with some mayonnaise, light mayonnaise, and all that does is seal in the juice of the king clip. It really keeps it nice and moist. If you don't want to use it, you could use a yogurt, but just use a light version of it so that it doesn't make it too fatty. And I just want to coat the entire top of that fish to seal in the juices. If I weren't doing low fat, I'd go for it. And I'd add a lot more mayonnaise, but we want to be healthy. And any kind of mayonnaise works perfectly. Never overcrowd the pan. Remember, the more you put in, the longer it takes to cook. So how do you know how long to cook this for? My secret is you look at the thickest part of the fish. So it would either be here or at this part. And the general rule is 10 minutes per centimetre of cooking, and you will have the perfect cooked fish. Whether you're grilling, whether you're frying, or whether you're roasting, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to pop my crumbs on, pat them on to cover that fish. I've got about a half a kilo here. Right. And I need to preheat my oven to about 200 degrees. The higher the oven, the faster I'm going to get color. Right. That's my fish ready to go. It'll take about 20 minutes in the oven. Let's put it in. After the break, we're going to make some roast asparagus to go with our crumbed fish and a delicious pasta with a fresh tomato sauce. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Food in a Flash. My delicious crumbed baked fish is in the oven, and now we're going to make some roast asparagus to go with it, as well as a pasta with a fresh tomato sauce. My asparagus has been soaking in some salted water for about 20 minutes, just to get those heads clean, and this is a great way as an alternative to steaming asparagus or microwaving it. What I do is simply pop it on a baking tray. You don't want asparagus that are very thick. You want them all to line up, and you want them in just one flat layer. You could grill these or roast them. It doesn't really matter what you do, but it's not going to be difficult to cook because they're going to take about 10 minutes, so they can accompany the fish and make a delicious side. So what we're going to do is sprinkle a little bit of herbamare, and you could use any seasoning salt. They need flavor, so I just want to give them a little bit of flavor. It looks like a lot, but it's not so much. Some coarse salt and a little bit of black pepper, and then instead of olive oil, I'm going to use some olive oil spray, which is just a little bit less. It just coats the asparagus so that they're not dry. And that way I'm not actually adding too much oil, especially because we want to use low fat. It's as simple as that. Now you could do this with any other vegetable. A cauliflower. Cauliflower heads work great as well. Roasted, try them, they're just delicious. Let's put this in with the fish and see how long they take, probably 10 minutes. I've got my pasta water going. I'm going to add a little bit of salt and some oil to the water just to give that pasta flavor. This is such a simple sauce that you want to really add flavor into the water itself. So we want to put quite a lot of salt in. It looks like a lot, but that's what gives your flavor into your pasta. We're going to add a drop of olive oil. And I'm using a fresh pasta today. So this takes about 3 minutes to cook. If you're using a box pasta, it'll probably take about 10. I'll just keep my eye on the clock. So what's going into the sauce? We've got some red rosa tomatoes and some yellow ones. They're gorgeous and they're vibrant, and that's going to give me color. Some parsley. Love the basil. Have to have basil with my pasta, especially with tomatoes. And it's fresh and it's beautiful. We're going to just chop that a little bit. And I've got some mint. So this is quite herby. We have some parmesan and a little bit of garlic just to give us a bit of flavor. Of course, chili if you like. You never want to shred or chop basil too much because you're actually going to bruise it. And I just want to give it a little bit of a chop so that the flavor comes out. It's always added at the end of a sauce. Okay, my mint. I think I need a bit more basil. I love basil. It's one of my favorite herbs in the kitchen. I could add it into anything actually. You know, when my children were little, they ate everything. Now that they're older, they drive me crazy because one eats this, one doesn't like that. So by the time we finished, we have about 7 different meals on the table. And they're all growing up now, so they want low fat, they want light, they don't want anything that's going to be too heavy at dinner. So I'm just going to chop these tomatoes so that they aren't too finely chopped. I've chopped some already, so we'll just add this to the bowl. We want texture. And let's do some of the red ones. And I'm sure by the time we finished, our pasta will be ready to add. And you could add peas, some freshly blanched asparagus if you like, anything you find in the fridge actually that you want to use. This is about 250 grams, but I need to keep my eye on it because it's such a soft pasta that it won't take long to cook at all. Right. If I overcook it, it's going to actually fall apart. And the test is that when I pull it, if there's a little white spot inside, it's not done. The other one, taste it. It's a little bit hard, needs 1 more minute. So while that's happening, I'm going to grate my parmesan. This gives it a saltiness as well. And then I'm going to mix everything in the same bowl. I could have the whole wedge, but I think it might add a few calories. Do you know that this microplane gives you triple the volume of a normal grater? So you think you're eating more, but you're actually not. Let's put it in here. I'm going to add my tomatoes, a little bit of olive oil because it's got to coat the pasta. I need a nice spoon. Herbs are in. Touch of minced garlic. And a little bit of black pepper, essential for my pasta. Let's just give that a toss. I think I'll just drizzle some olive oil in there. What it does is just coat it. So about 2 tablespoons, which in the big scheme of things is not that much. And this really will appeal to everybody because it's so colorful, it's so vibrant. It's what people want. You know, I eat with my eyes, and I'm sure you do too. So if you make something look beautiful, people just want to dive in the dish and eat it. Right, that pasta must be ready. Just give it a test. Perfect. I'm going to drain it. And fresh pasta, if we're going to toss it with a sauce, should never be rinsed with cold water. People always say to me, do you rinse your pasta? Why would I rinse it? What I want to do is actually keep it hot. If I'm rinsing it, I'm taking out all the heat. So all I want to do is just drain off that excess water. And sometimes, when you're making a sauce, that water's beautiful. To add to the sauce, it thins it out, so don't even throw it away. Okay, I think that's perfect. Put my sauce on, and we'll give that a good toss. Might need a bit more parmesan. Now, isn't that something you want to eat? I could eat that right away. So we'll finish with a little bit of Parmesan and some black pepper and a little bit of salt. I didn't add salt. The salt really does give it flavor, but the Parmesan's salty as well. And this must be served straight away because it's going to get cold. That little bit of oil on top will stop it from sticking. Touch of salt and a little pinch more of Parmesan. And just before we eat, I'll give it a toss so that that salt is not sitting on the top. And voila, my pasta dish is ready to go. After the break, we're going to finish with our mango brulee, take our fish and asparagus out of the oven and put it all together. See you in a minute. Welcome back to Food in a Flash. We've been cooking up a storm with some crumbed baked fish, roast asparagus. I have a delicious pasta with tomatoes, and we're going to finish off with a mango brulee, topped with yogurt and a little bit of brown sugar. Too delicious for words and just the right thing to finish off this low-fat meal. So what I have are some mangoes. You could always use berries or any other kind of fruit. This is such a simple dessert. It's vibrant, it's beautiful. How's my slicer? It just pops through that mango. Out comes the pip. 2 sections, and I can slice that mango so beautifully. Okay, so the whole idea is that the sugar melts on top of the yogurt and brulees. You know, you always think of a brulee with a blowtorch. You don't even need that for this. It's as simple as the sugar melting, and we want a light brown sugar that's sticky. So you can put it on as thickly or as thinly as you like. Obviously, the more you add, the more calories you add. So we're not going to make it too heavy. And I'm going to give you the option of using honey for a change. But I like to do this because often it's just a light, fresh dessert. And I find that even my family just wants something sweet to finish off the meal. It's not always about heavy and rich. It's just about something light. Let's just do one more bowl. The color looks awesome as well. So I could even top this with some berries if I wanted to, which would make it even prettier. There we go. Okay, so what I've got is some yogurt, a very nice thick yogurt, and we want to pour over just to cover the whole top. I'll do 2 with plain and 1 with vanilla. Right, there we go. And the vanilla goes in the middle. This one is a little bit looser, so it tends to seep into the mango, but that's also good. You could do a custard if you wanted to, but there are calories in that. A little drizzle of honey on this fat-free one. And this isn't really a brulee, but it's probably a bit healthier for you than the sugar, because the sugar needs to melt. So you could either do the really thick version, but since we're making low fat, we don't want more than that. And this should stay in the fridge until you're ready to eat it. And it takes about 20 to 30 minutes for that sugar to melt. That's the entire thing. It's so simple. And sometimes simple is just the way to go, because I don't want to stand in the kitchen a long time always. Let's get our fish and asparagus out of the oven and put it all together. Wow, my fish looks fantastic. My asparagus are perfect. How do you tell if that fish is cooked? Just simply pierce it with a fork, and if the fork goes through all the way, then you know it's perfectly done. I'm going to pop that onto a plate. In fact, with this liner, it's just fantastic because I can just slide it onto my plate. As you can see, it's got gorgeous color. It doesn't need anything. Literally just slides onto the platter, and there's no fat at all. Now we're going to pop the asparagus on, and this will give it gorgeous color. Oh, it's hot. And I want it to really look lovely and edible. And can you see how beautiful they look? They look like they've actually been coated in olive oil, but in fact they haven't. They've just made their own juice, and that's the beauty of this dish. It doesn't need a lot. So my pasta's looking fabulous. We'll finish it off with a little bit of parmesan and some basil just to give it a bit of color. And that meal looks good enough to eat. Just a little sprig of basil on top. With that mango brulee, it all comes together. It's light, low fat, and luscious. Next week we'll be making delicious dishes with a health-conscious twist. Don't miss that episode, so join us then.
You've seen her do it on TV. Now learn to cook with Sharon at one of her fun interactive cooking workshops. From the very basics of cooking to full dinner party meals or cakes and bakes, Sharon Glass has a cooking class or workshop just for you. For more information or to book a spot, visit www.thehomechannel.co.za and follow the link to Food in a Flash. And for one lucky Home Channel viewer, Sharon is offering an interactive workshop for you and 7 of your friends. All you have to do to enter is log on to our website, fill in the online entry form, and you could stand a chance to win this great prize. Entries for the competition close on Sunday the 15th of July.